everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name's Meredith Phillips, and today I wanted to do something a little different and share with you what a week in the life of a writer with a full-time job looks like, or at least a week in what my writerly life looks like. This is absolutely not meant to be like a you have to do it this way kind of video. It's just a little peek into how I structure my days, where I find the time to fit writing in, all that kind of stuff. Obviously, everyone's life is a little bit different, but I'm hoping you might get some new ideas for how to prioritize writing, if that's even a goal of yours, or at least be entertained for the next few minutes. I'm gonna try to share exactly what I'm working on each day and how much time I'm able to devote to this. Now, when I first thought of filming this and doing this whole video, I was anticipating filming like kind of a normal week in the life. And of course, is any week ever normal? Who knows? But as you will see, my mornings have not exactly gone to plan. That's fine. I'm still gonna share with you, but I'm kind of wanting to like redo this video maybe later in a few months and hopefully kind of get whatever a normal week would look like for you. But anyway, let's start with Monday, January 29th. If you've missed my last two videos, you might not know, but we have a special needs dog, and for whatever reason, she's decided to just implode her sleep schedule. So this has resulted in her waking up incredibly early in the morning, needing to go potty. On Monday, she actually slept until just before my alarm went off at 5:30, which was great. So I took her out to potty, put her back in her bed because that's not really the time she's supposed to be getting up yet. I took care of our bunny, Junie, and then I grabbed some coffee and headed back to my office. By 5:45, I was working to finish copying over my notes from the Emotional Wound Thesaurus. I talked a little bit about that in the video last week. I've already read over the opening intro pages, and now I'm just typing up the pieces of information from those intro pages that seemed important or potentially helpful to me. This might not seem like a good use of time to you, because really all I'm doing is copying almost verbatim what's in the book. And it's why not just look at the book, Meredith? But for me, it really means I'm reviewing the information a second time, and the act of typing it up helps solidify the concepts in my brain. I set things aside at 6:33 so I could start getting ready for work. I work from home, so I luckily don't have to factor in commute times or anything like that to my mornings or afternoons. My work day starts at 7:30 a.m. and goes until 4 p.m. Typically, after work, I spend a varying amount of time taking care of Junie, our bunny, or letting the dogs out to go potty, playing with them, all that kind of stuff. Today, I was able to sit down and do some writing work from about 4:10 in the afternoon for about a solid hour. That doesn't always happen. It honestly depends on what the dogs need. Sometimes they're just kind of chilling and lounging around, and I can focus on my writing work. Other times they have a lot of energy and they want to play, or Jay's getting into some kind of mischief and barking her head off and requires a little more supervision. Monday afternoon, I worked on copying over the actual entries from the Emotional Wound Thesaurus into Scrivener for my two protagonists. So I'd finished all of the note-taking kind of stuff, and now I'm working through okay, what of these emotional wounds actually apply in my story. I've already gone through the different categories and identified which ones might apply to my characters. So in Scrivener, I'm typing up the portions of those entries I think are most applicable. Here's an example of an entry from the book. I am not typing up this entire 2-page spread. I am pulling the pieces of this that will work for my story. So for example, one of my characters has a toxic relationship with one of their parents, but a lot of the bullet points on these pages have really more to do with a toxic romantic relationship, which does not apply to my story, so I ignore those. I personally find this super helpful, especially the sections on possible responses and results, as well as the triggers that might aggravate this wound, because it oftentimes points me toward potential scene ideas. I took a break a little after 5, we ate dinner around 6, and then at 7, I had the first lecture in the online workshop I signed up for. It's a small group, so we had fun saying hi to everyone and hearing what everyone is working on. This first lecture ran for a little over an hour, and this workshop runs for 6 weeks, so I'm really looking forward to doing the new lectures every Monday. Finally, it was 8 o'clock. And do you know what that means? That is correct. It is time for bed. 8 o'clock, it's time to get ready for bed. We have clean up chores and things like that we do around the house, get the dog settled in. And then I like to be in bed by 9 o'clock to read. And then it lights out by 10 at the absolute latest. Guess who was whining at 4:57 a.m.? Honestly, though, it was close enough to my alarm that I did not go back to bed after taking Jade out. I grabbed some coffee and was sitting down to write by 5:15. This morning, I worked on identifying positive and negative traits for my two main love interests, and I tried to make sure those traits made sense with the emotional wounds I'd identified the day before. I don't do as much typing up notes for these entries. I just kind of copy over the trait, its definition. I maybe read through some of the other pieces on the pages in the book, but I pretty much was able to finish that up by 6:26. After work on Tuesday, you know what? Your girl was tired. We have been awake for a long time. I sat down around 4:30 p.m. to try to work on more of the character development stuff, but the dogs were a little more active this afternoon. I kept getting distracted by my phone. So, oh well, you know what? Sometimes it just is not happening, and I abandoned the idea of getting work done within about half an hour. Thankfully, after dinner, I was a little more re-energized, and I was able to get about 40 minutes of work in, and I'm in a pretty good place with the character development. I finished working through everything from my female main character, and I only have a few last little kind of fiddly bits to figure out for the male main character. But it is late on Tuesday, and I'm going to save that for tomorrow. I was up too early. Entirely too early again today with Jade. By the time I took care of her, got some coffee, and sat down at my desk, it was just 5 a.m. I worked on finishing up the details for my male main character's backstory and his emotional wound section, so that felt good. At this point, the sections in my Scrivener file for the two main characters is a little messy. We've got multiple fonts going on. It was very disjointed and weird looking. So I actually took a bit of time to reformat things and rearrange some of the information so it was easier to look through. And then I finally felt ready to start answering the questions in the character profile questionnaire. I've referenced this multiple times. I'll put links to it in the description below. But I jotted down a few of the answers for my female main character before I stopped working around 6:15. I did a bit more work later in the afternoon between 4:30 and 5:15, just continuing to work through the character profile questions. I know I've talked about this profile to death, but I really do love it. The questions really get me thinking about aspects of the character I hadn't considered yet, or how the character relates to those around them, or sometimes it even gives me ideas for scenes. Again, highly recommend. Even if you don't go through it like I am and try to answer a lot of them, like just reading through it might be helpful for you. Wednesday evening, I opted not to do anything after dinner. I was really tired. I'd already done work earlier in the day, and we just kind of hung out and played with the dogs. Do not freak out. Don't freak out. I have not been awake since 4:35. That'd be ridiculous. I've been awake since 3. She woke up at 3 in the morning. I did try to go back to sleep after this, okay? I promise. I was tossing and turning for an hour and a half. All right. By 4:30, I was like, it's not happening. So I got out of bed. By 4:45, I was sitting down at my desk, which is, it's fine. 4:45 is like almost 5 o'clock, like we could round up. And 5 o'clock is not that much earlier than 5:30. So it's, I basically sat down at 5:30. That is what I'm choosing to believe today. Nothing too different this morning. I kept working through the character profile questions for a while, and then I remembered it was February 1st. So obviously the most important thing to do is to update my budget spreadsheets. So I got distracted messing with that kind of stuff for a little while, but I am about halfway done with the profile questions for my leading lady, which is good progress. I do want to take a second to talk briefly about the idea of writing every day. At this point, you've probably noticed that I am, in fact, writing every single day, and that is normal, okay? This year and a lot of last year, I wrote on the vast majority of days or worked on writing stuff. When I started making time for writing early in the morning, my goal was not, I want to write every day. I don't think that's a healthy goal. For me, at least, my goal was more, I want to make time to write that is not only the weekends. When writing was relegated to weekends, it felt like things were going too slow and progress was just harder to see. It was really frustrating. So I decided to give up a little extra sleep to create a little extra time that could be devoted to writing progress. I do not think you have to write every day to be a writer. I don't think that writing every day is a goal most people should aim for. And for most people, it is simply impossible to write every day. Personally, I think consistency is much more important. Maybe weekends are truly the only days you have to spend writing. That's fine. Take those weekend days and use them. I do think, this is just me, I'm not saying this is a rule, I'm just saying this is me. I think that it's helpful to spend time writing at least once a week. And I only say that for the practical reason that if you go too much longer than a week, it can be really hard to pick up where you left off. You know what I mean? You end up spending a lot of time like rereading notes, rereading pages you've written, trying to get back into the flow, or like, wait, what was I doing with this section? Like you kind of forget unless you're really detailed with like notes you leave yourself. So I do think if you can manage at least once a week, that's a good and healthy goal to stick to. Anyway, Thursday afternoon, I spent some time doing some really important things around the house, and then I sat down to try to work at 4:35, and I really did try, I promise you, but Jade was really active. Jade, do you need to go potty? She kept messing with Nahan. There was a lot of barking. She was trying to sleep under my desk, which is super cute, but it is very dangerous if she actually falls asleep under there. And I was so tired, I just gave up on making progress by about 5:05. My plan had originally been to try to get a little more done after dinner, but we had to pick up some of Jade's medicine refills at the pharmacy, which should have been a very quick trip. And we even brought the dogs with us because they love car rides. But apparently everyone was picking up medicine at the pharmacy. So it took almost an hour to drive over there, sit in line, and come home. By the time we got home, it was almost time for bed, so I just figured, screw it, I'll work on stuff again tomorrow. Finally, Friday, blessed Friday. Jade slept until about 5, which is better than 3, so that was nice, I guess. I ended up working on more of my female main character's character profile, going through the sections on morals and ethics, secrets, fears, and backstory. At 6:15, I paused to get ready for work. In the afternoon, I sat down to write around 4:40 and desperately tried not to fall asleep. I also decided that the purple hoodie was too warm. But no sweater was too cold, so I changed into ratty pink sweater. And miracle of miracles, I finished the first character profile. Woohoo! The last sections are on attributes and flaws, as well as how the character handles pressure and how they express themselves. I was finished by 5:24, and then I was absolutely done for the day. So, in total, from Monday through Friday, drumroll please, I wrote almost 10 hours, which is like half of a part-time job. Again, this week was a little weird with the insane wake-up times, so I definitely don't do this much on a regular basis, but let me know if you'd like to see this kind of like redone in a couple months when things are a little more back to normal. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't yet, you can click on the subscribe button. I post videos on Fridays. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. Bye!